Welcome to the weekend warm-up on the Winners Enclosure. Chris Dixon joins me now to talk about the best races from Punchestown, and it's also a classic weekend of racing at Newmarket, headquarters of racing as well. But first of all, Chris, we'll concentrate on Punchestown. It's been a great week so far, and there's no other starting point than Honeysuckle today.
Yeah, definitely not. Putting her unbeaten record on the line once again, obviously, on Friday afternoon, and taking on a lot of the same horses again, and you would imagine going to be the same result again. We went into Cheltenham with a couple of question marks, but she answered those very comfortably, really, and she just looks the complete class act, doesn't she? And she's backed up relatively quickly before. It's not like it's a really swift turnaround. It's a while since Cheltenham now. So she's had the chance to get over that race. The one thing I suppose you could say is that she's not been to Punchestown in the past, but there's not really an obvious reason that that's going to cause a problem for her. So given that she's beaten these horses fair and square at Cheltenham, I think she'll probably beat them fair and square again. It's unoriginal, but hard to get away from her really in this division.
I totally agree, and it was the way in which she travelled, wasn't it, that was so brilliant at Cheltenham. There was some doubt in whether the drop back to 2 miles would see her at a total best, but it's extremely hard to believe when you look at the rest of them. Epatante, who was 9.5 lengths behind her at the festival, how she's going to turn that around, because there aren't many flaws in this brilliant mare.
Yeah, and indeed, you look at Sharjah, I suppose, and again, held on that piece of form. And Sharjah sort of had the right setup, really, in many ways at Cheltenham, in that he got that good gallop and the ground wasn't too bad. So, you look at the way that she beat them. Obviously, we say it all the time, they're not machines and they can have an off day. And she's a filly that, a mare that might have gone over the top or something, but she's never done that before, and it's not as if she's had a really busy campaign. She's only had 3 runs all season, so as I said, pretty hard to get away from her. It's unoriginal, but she beat them in such good fashion. As you say, she powered through the race, and then the way that she picked up and hit the line so strongly, you're looking at her and thinking there aren't too many flaws in there. And even if Epatante produced her very best, I don't think it'd be good enough to see off Honeysuckle.
No, and then you've got the likes of Abracadabra, who of course fell in the champion hurdle, so that wasn't a true reflection of her. But go back the race before, and she was very much 10 lengths behind her in the Irish champion hurdle. So yeah, the more you go through the form, I totally agree with you. It's extremely difficult to find any flaws in the favourite Honeysuckle. 35 minutes later, we've got another very short price favourite in the champion novice hurdle with Bob Ollinger, and I think you're probably going to agree here. It's quite hard to find any faults with him too.
It definitely is. I mean, I think one of the abiding memories of what was a strange Cheltenham festival is that footage of Bob Ollinger clearing away from Gaillard Dementia, who was there on his outside, and he just readily put him away and scorched clear up the hill. Now, he's coming back a furlong and trip, but his form has been over this sort of distance previously, and this isn't a horse that's short of speed in any way, shape or form. And I think he's going to do the same to Gaillard du Mesnil as he did at Cheltenham, really. I just think that this horse has got so much talent, and he seems pretty straightforward as well. You can put him anywhere in a race. They rode him a bit differently at Cheltenham to what they had done before, so I think tactically they can do whatever they want with him. And again, it's the case of if he's in the same form, he's going to be very difficult to beat. Now, he, unlike Honeysuckle, I suppose, hasn't backed up a really big effort in the past. That was a definite career best. And the one thing that you will see with some of these horses, and we've seen it already at Punchestown, on the back of a big effort, particularly these younger horses, they don't necessarily reproduce it the next time. That can have taken the edge off them, bottomed them out to some degree. But you're guessing on that front, and he has taken his racing well in the past. I think he goes on any sort of ground. These conditions will be fine. And if you're just looking at him from a form point of view, he's got a big edge on the rest of the field, and he'll be very hard to beat.
Yeah, he does. I mean, even the likes of Ashdale Bob through Gaillard du Mesnil, he's plenty of form to find from finishing behind him at Leopardstown. He then did get his head back in front in a grade 2 at Fairyhouse last time, but he can just race a little bit lazy, can't he, at times? And again, it would require a massive step forwards to put it up to Bob Ollinger here.
It would do. I mean, it would do for any of them. I think the two horses that are the standout on their various bits of form are Bob Olinger and Gaia de Menil. And you saw what Bob Olinger did to Gaia de Menil at Cheltenham. So it's, as I say, it's boring and unoriginal. But I think we're coming at it from a point of view of you need Bob Olinger to run below form, just as you do. You need Honeysuckle to run below form, because I don't see a situation where the others are going to progress beyond them. So it's whether or not these horses give their running more than anything else.
Okay, so we both agree that they're banker material. So why don't we both try and find a third part of the treble to boost the odds slightly and actually win a few quid if our third one wins? I'm going to start with the 2,000 guineas here. It's a race we can actually talk about anyway. I like the chances of Mutasabek for Charlie Hills. Glad they've supplemented him, because to me, he was the absolute wow horse to take out of the Craven meeting. It was a conditions race. He obviously won that day over 7 furlongs, but it was the way in which he travelled, and he just put the race to bed so quickly. I think he's really quite talented. Wembley would be the one I fear most from Aidan O'Brien's team. In what looks quite an open 2,000 guineas, I think Mutasabek is definitely the best of the British.
Yeah, I think he is, and he's an extremely exciting prospect. Whether or not he's battle-hardened enough, that would be the doubt. And that was obviously the connections doubt, and that's why he wasn't in the Guineas from the outset and why they've had to supplement him for it. But I think he's a massively talented horse, and he adds an intriguing element to the first classic of the season. I'm going to go with Thunder Moon. He's a horse that I loved all the way through last season. I thought his National Stakes victory, when he had the likes of St Mark's Basilica and Wembley behind him, was an extremely good performance. Now, he's beaten in the Dewhurst on his final start, but he went through that horse like the most talented horse in the field. Wembley stayed on and got past him. Obviously, St Mark's Basilica won the race, but I just think particularly if the rain stays away and the ground is lively, I know that his form is largely on an easier ground, but he's such a strong traveller, Thunder Moon, that I can't help but think a quick surface is something that would really suit him. And if he gets that, and if the rain does stay away, then I think he might just have a little bit too much pace. I feel Wembley most. I think he's the kind of horse that wins the Windsor Guineas, in that he stays a little bit further. You look at the number of Guineas winners that proved themselves over 10 furlongs and in occasions a mile and a half. And I think he is the horse that will be doing his best work at the finish. But I think Thunder Moon on a lively surface might just have a little bit too much foot for him. So he'd be my Guineas pick. Do you want the treble one?
Oh, well, come on then. Yeah, give us your third leg of the treble.
I'm going to go Midwinster, who runs up at Musselburgh, 3:35 on Friday afternoon. So if this doesn't win, then the treble is down before the other two, Honeysuckle and Bob Olinger, go on and run. But Midwinster's a horse a mare that I've had my eye on a couple of starts this season. I thought she ran very, very well in a reappearance at Doncaster, over 6 furlongs, showing a lot of boot, and then she matched that form at Ripon, only beating a length on her next start. With those 2 runs behind her, I think she's going to be hitting peak fitness now. She's off the same mark here, and she's down to 5 furlongs at a speed track, and she has got loads of early pace. I don't think they'll see which way she goes here. I think she'll bang out, and I think she'll make every yard of the running against the rail from a good draw.
Then in the 1,000 guineas, Aidan O'Brien's got quite a short price favourite now in the shape of Santa Barbara, and she's been well backed over the last 3-4 months or so, because while she's bred to get a lot further, we've seen this many times before, she's apparently showing a lot of dash and burning up the gallops at home.
Yeah, and that's significant in its own right. I mean, from a punter's point of view, unless you're seeing that firsthand, or you know that you've heard it from such a reliable source, you're kind of hard pressed to row in at 13-8 or thereabouts about a horse that's just got a maiden win on the board and we haven't seen it. You've got to acknowledge that there are top connections involved here, and probably the best trial for the Guineas is taking place on the gallops at Ballydoyle in a lot of ways. But, you know, without seeing it with my own eyes or hearing it from the most reliable of sources, i.e. the trainer, then I think I'd just have to pass from a betting point of view on her. It opens up the race each way, doesn't it? Without a doubt. Pretty Gorgeous is the standard setter on form, so far as I can see, but you're not going to make a profit on the each way part of the bet, so far as she's concerned. The horse that I think looks a little bit overpriced is Statement for Martin Mead, second to Alcohol Free. A much bigger price than Alcohol Free who beat her in the Fred Darling. But if you're looking at those two horses as to which one is going to improve most for stepping up to a mile, it has to be Statement. And I just think that Statement looks like she is overpriced, really, at well into double figure odds. She's going the right way. She will improve for the mile. So I'm going to put up Statement each way as my pick for the Guineas.
Okay, I'm going to put Saffron Beach each way as my pick in the Guineas. I liked her performance when she was second to William Haggis's horse in the Nell Gwyn. That was 7 furlongs. I think she's going to really appreciate the extra furlong. She's got a good attitude, and I think Jane Chapple-Hyam does a really good job with her team of horses, and I think she's sure to run well. So what about other picks for the weekend? There's plenty of racing to choose from.
There's loads of it. We'll start at Newmarket, the 150, the second race on the card on 2,000 Guineas Day, Saturday afternoon. 2 horses that are quite closely matched on last year's form at Goodwood on revised terms. Bell Rock, who finished third, and then went on to finish third in the Cambridgeshire on the back of that before having an excuse when bombing out at Ascot. And the horse that beat him that day, Maid Danny, who won the race at Goodwood. I'm going to go for Maid Danny, whose season tailed off thereafter, but his early season form was very strong. And I still think that this Son of Attraction by Gabawi has got potential to rate a little bit higher. Mark Johnson will have him fit and firing, I'm sure, for his seasonal return. His style of racing ideal for the Rowley Mile. So I'm going to put up him on Saturday in the 150. And the other horse I like is one called Acquitted, who runs in a really valuable edition of the Thirsk Hunt Cup. Got to be careful how I say that. That is due off at 2:40.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I just won't say it fast. The 2:40 on the card at Thirsk, and I think you often want to be drawn quite wide actually in this race, and I would prefer a wide draw to the selection Acquitted. But I thought that he ran an excellent race when I fancied him at Doncaster on his seasonal return. The winner of that race, Artistic Rifles, has gone in since to boost the form. Acquitted is only a pound higher, and I think that if he can just make his challenge away from the rail up the centre of the track, he's got a real chance. So he was around 6-7 to 1, something like that on the initial prices I saw, and I think that Acquitted each way in the 2:40 at Thirsk.
Well, I've obviously gone for Mutasabek in the Guineas, so that's one of my 2. The other one is a shorter price, likely favourite in the 4:25 at Goodwood, and I like the chances of that Solar Screen for David Simcock. He was with Roger Varian last year, this horse, and I think he's probably matured and strengthened up. He's had time to do so. He ran well when he was second at Doncaster, and then in the end of the season, albeit back in August last year, finishing third in Newbury, he steps up in distance to a 1:06. I think that'll really suit him, and I think this is a good starting point for his year. And I'd be hopeful that he can get his head in front for the first time with David Simcock. Well, Chris, thanks very much. It's a wonderful weekend to look forward to. I hope we've steered you in the direction of a winner or 2, and we will chat again next week.